It's always a pleasure to have our friend, Senator from Florida, Rick Scott. How are you, Senator?
Mark, it's great to be with you, but boy, it's what's going on in this country scares the living daylights out of you.
Senator, I hope you don't mind me saying that I'm very proud of you because you've stood up to Washington, you stood up to McConnell, you have put together various proposals. So, of course, you come under attack from the Washington crowd. And you stand up for this country, the border, the state of Israel. I don't think I disagree with you on anything, as a matter of fact. So, Senator, here's my question. Do we know who's going to eventually replace Mitch McConnell? Do we have a sense for that?
No. So Thune has announced, Cornyn has announced, I'm seriously considering it. What Ron Johnson, Mike Lee, and I are making sure the conference does first is, what do we stand for? Do we actually stand for fiscal sanity? Are we going to fight to secure the border? Are we going to, fight to make sure our ally Israel gets all the support it needs? Are we going to, what do we believe in, and what are we going to be hell bent on doing? Because our belief is that the first step is let's decide what we want, because then we'll find out who the right leader is. If we want to do the exact same thing as what McConnell's been doing, and that's the type of leader we ought to get. If we want big change, we're going to have somebody completely different than McConnell.
And problem is, you got like about half of them there, maybe even more. I'm just concerned they really don't want to take on the Democrat Party, the left, and the bureaucracy. I'm concerned about that. I don't want you to burn bridges. Is that not a legitimate concern?
Well, if you look at the votes, it absolutely is. I mean, if you look at what we're doing, it takes right now to pass these spending bills, to pass the infrastructure bill that got passed, which is really the Green New Deal bill, to pass the omnibus, all this stuff. It's taken at least 9 or 10 Republicans. And so if you're voting for these things, then you can't come back and say, boy, I'm really worried about, $35 trillion for the debt. Well, I'm worried about the inflation. Well, you're causing it. I mean, look at what's going on. If a guy grew up in a poor family, a lot of America did. If you look at what the poor families in this country are dealing with, go to the grocery store and look at what they're dealing with. That's a big portion of their income. Look at when they go pay the rent, what's happened. Look at when they want to go buy a car, go buy gas. We are completely pricing the poor out of the market. If you're poor in this country, between what the Democrats are doing and some Republicans are voting with them, we're causing massive inflation. I talked to Jay Powell today about what the Federal Reserve is doing, and he acknowledged that it was worse for the poor. But what's he doing about it? Nothing. So, I think that at some point we're going to have a dramatic change. Look, I spoke with President Trump today. I believe he is in for dramatic change. I think what they're doing to him is horrible. What New York is doing to him, but all these cases, what they're doing to him is horrible. But guess what? The guy's a fighter, and I think we have a shot. We need to win. We need to win the White House. Trump needs to win. We need to have a new Republican leader that really wants to change the direction of the country. And then we've got to keep the House. We need a bigger majority.
Let's talk about Israel for a minute. Then I want to talk about the border with you. I mean, we keep taking these outrageous steps now with the UN, and Kirby's up there lying. They now bifurcated the ceasefire from hostages, even though they say they haven't. I read the resolution on the air. They certainly did. And that's why Hamas is celebrating, put out a statement tonight. Iran put out a statement tonight and said that the Middle East has been forever changed. There's a new, there's a new balance in the Middle East, which is exactly what Malley and Blinken have been calling for. And they're doing this, out of the Oval Office, out of the State Department. Congress isn't involved in any of this, is it?
No. You have to admire what Netanyahu is doing. He spoke to us the other day, the Republican senators. We met with the Israeli ambassador to the United States. And what they're telling us, they have to go into Rafah. If they don't go into Rafah, they don't destroy Hamas. If they don't destroy Hamas, then they'll rebuild. Okay, and maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 3 years, but they'll not have another invasion. So if you're an Israeli citizen, you'll never live in peace. And so, but the Biden administration, all they want is there's some votes in Michigan they're looking for, so they're going to appease the pro-Hamas crowd to get votes to try to win a presidential race. But I hope the American public is smart. They know that with a weak American president, that we're going to continue to have more and more problems. So, but I'm going to do everything I can to support what the Israelis want, because they're the ones who are going to have. They're there. They know what it's going to take to get rid of Hamas, and Hamas needs to be absolutely destroyed.
Don't you find it odd that an administration that burns down everything it touches, not just domestically but overseas, is demanding after October 7th that Israel surrender to Hamas, that it carve up its own country, that it and on and on. Did you ever think we'd be here this quickly? I never did.
No, but I mean, Biden. Look, Biden's an appeaser. He'll never stand for our freedom. I did a rally today with people that have gotten out of Cuba, and Biden's reduced the sanctions on Cuba and Venezuela and Nicaragua. You look at Latin America; it's not getting better; it's getting worse. And we've got 1,400 peaceful protesters in prison right now in Cuba. I can't even get Biden to acknowledge them and say they need to be released. The Castro regime is trying to kill them. I can't get the Biden administration to do anything to try to make sure that their leader, Jose Daniel Ferre, stays alive. So here's what we all, as Americans, we have to think about. We have a president that doesn't care about you. We have American hostages in Gaza right now. He doesn't have any idea what's going on. And has he lifted a finger to try to get them out? I mean, we have a strong we have Rangers, we have Special Forces, we have Navy SEALs. I've never heard of one attempt to get any of American hostages out of Gaza. Not one. I mean, I don't get that. And then we trade for a basketball player. And we just gave up we traded in Venezuela for a despicable person from Venezuela that has helped Maduro. We got a trial. We've got sentencing coming up for Manuel Rocha, who was a Cuban spy. And who knows? I mean, is the Biden Justice Department going to try to say, well, it wasn't that bad? No, I can just tell you, I was with people today. Their son died because of what Manuel Rocha does. But this president, if you're American hostage overseas, well, that's not that important to him.
Terrible. I know you have to go, Senator. I want to thank you. But on top of all that, he's funding the enemy. He's funding Iran, Hezbollah.
Right.
This is worse than Neville Chamberlain. Neville Chamberlain never funded the Nazis. This guy's funding the modern-day Nazis.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So It makes you mad.
All right, Senator. God bless you, my friend. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Hi.